Okay, the epoxy glue is set on the chimney cap and the handrail, and you can see I can't move it. I can move this about and it's not dropping off, so that's all on there. So the instructions say that you have to fit this assembly onto the chassis now. So I'll put it over the top. Okay, there we go. So it's on, and we're supposed to bit top heavy, and we're supposed to fasten it here. However, both the front and side screws for the foot plate, you can't get at them with the Smokebox on it to fasten them up. So what I'm going to do is just loosen the Smokebox so I can get the screws in there, so I can fit the screws in there and tighten them up. Okay, fitting the rear too should be relatively easy, he says. Okay, there's one in. Of course the blue tack goes everywhere. There's one. Okay, there's the second one. So yeah, the moment now we need to push them in a bit more. Yeah, that's better. And we need to fit the front one. Just use that thinner screwdriver at the moment for now. Okay. Okay. There it is. There it is now. And this one's on there as well. I'll just try and get it, screw these back ones in just a little bit more. Just loosely, not dramatically tight. So you can't, so yeah. So there they are. So I'll turn it upside down and just tighten the Smokebox screws up. Oh, we can just about get to them, I think. It's a bit fiddly, mind. Okay, that's enough for now. That's fastened enough for now. Tight enough. So top heavy. Okay, the next step is just to make sure that the exhaust pipes are okay in the center of the chimney. Okay, so there it is, the front. I just put the boiler at the back just so it doesn't tip over at the front. So that's the front end of the Loco, temporarily fit of course, and I don't know whether I can show you in the chimney. I think you can just see there the exhausts pipes in the chimney there. So now we're going to fit the rear mounting onto the boiler, and it's a sort of actually it sits on there on the rear of the boiler, and how it's actually held in place is with a rear boiler band that actually has the boiler sleeve in between it. So what we need to do first is put the boiler sleeve over the boiler, place the rear foot for the boiler mounting on the boiler, and then mount and then clamp it in place with this boiler band. So let's crack on with that first. I've actually removed the two lugs here that sort of clamp the boiler sleeve in place. So I'll just remove the safety valve. Get the sleeve in place roughly. I want to put the safety valve back. And then what I'm going to do is just feed the clamping nut and bolt onto the boiler band. Okay, got the two clamping screws for the boiler sleeve on, so it's just a question of tightening them up a bit. Not too tight for now. Remember, this isn't the permanent fitting. Get them lined up roughly. The boiler band needs to be just along the edge of the boiler itself. That's it. So it needs tightening up a bit more now. Be very careful with screwing this up, or more, perhaps I should say careful with the screwdriver. I don't want to scratch this brass sleeve if I can help it, because I'm going to be painting that, and that's going to be in the body colour later. Okay, that'll do. So there's the boiler sleeve on. So the next job is to mount this on here, the foot on the end of the boiler, and then bend boiler band around to clamp the foot in place. And the nut and bolt, the clamping nut and bolt for the band, they need to end up around about here, about between 4 or 5 o'clock, so that when the boiler is mounted on the cabin floor, it doesn't foul the cabin floor. Okay, I made a U-turn, just did a trial fitting, and what I need to do is with the hole, just bend them back a bit. So this is roughly the position it needs to be in. See if I can hold that. Hope you guys can see it. I can't look through the camera and do this at the same time. Obviously the nut has been a bit of a pain, but I'm sure we'll get it in a minute. Yeah, it's on. Okay, it's on. But the clamp is not on, so we need to sort this out if I can. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Just ease it on with a screwdriver. Make sure it's roughly in the middle. The boiler band, for my liking, it needs to turn a little bit. It needs to go a little bit higher, like that. It's a question of lining everything up. Okay. So to get the right position, because the foot can actually rotate around its own axis, so what you do is you put the foot on the floor, and you check to see that the safety valve and the boiler turret are actually vertical. The foot itself is fastened. There's a bolt here, sorry, a screw that goes through this rear spacer and through the floor, cab floor, and then mounts on the foot. So the next stage that I think I'm going to do is actually mount the cab floor, and I think that can be permanently mounted at this stage. So we'll crack on and do that before actually mounting the boiler onto the chassis frame. So here's the cab floor, and this is the elongated mounting hole in the cab floor for the foot of the boiler. And when the cab floor is placed on the chassis, this appears to be at least the only screw holding the cab floor to the chassis. A couple of things we need to be careful of when mounting the cab floor. The rear of the cab floor has to be flush with the rear of the chassis. That's here. And this long groove here, this is where the gas canister is mounted. The foot goes through this groove, and then through two holes in the chassis it's bolted on. So when we mount the boiler in a second, we need to make sure that there's enough room there and it's flush at the back. So we'll crack on, we'll do that now. We'll just mount it on. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to pick up the boiler, I'm going to feed the superheater in, and I'm going to feed the boiler all the way through so that it comes into the rear section of the smoke box, at the same time aligning the foot of the boiler with the mounting hole in the chassis. So let's give that a go. Take it easy. Okay. Just turn it around so I can see it. Okay, so I'm just going to put the whole thing. So I'm going to put the whole thing on its side in a second, just to make sure that everything's lined up. I'm just going to get something to lay the locomotive on. Just a second. Oh, just forgot. This has to go through. Oh, back out again. The reversing rod, even though it's not going to be the final one, that needs to go through here as well, like that. So we'll go and take a look at all that in a sec, see whether that's all lined up. Okay, it's got a bit of a foam cushion, so I'm actually going to put it on its nose. Then I can see both what's going on. And I'll just put it on its nose, on its upside down. You can just see it's just mounting there, so we'll put it back on its nose, tighten it up a bit. Okay, turn it back, get rid of that. Okay, let's take a look. Looking at the boiler now, it doesn't actually look straight. Looking down the boiler here, it looks just like it's a little bit off center. I might have to move it a little bit, rotate it a little bit anti-clockwise.